What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Lightning Round podcast. Jamie here, Garrett here. Talk about the preseason game. I'm echoing, but Jamie, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad that game is over. And I'm ready for the season to start.
Why am I
Sounds like we're
echoing?
both echoing.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I think we're okay now.
All
Don't
right.
know what happened, but who knew? Okay, so let's talk about it. So there are a lot of guys, when we were going over our 53, we were talking about a lot of guys that we were going to be at the bottom of the roster, some bubble guys. Jamie did a video on it if you guys didn't see it. I'm glad you guys don't hear an echo. Thank you, chat, for all that. Just distracting for us for some reason. And so let's talk about kind of some of the bottom of the depth chart guys that were kind of fighting for a roster spot today. Jamie and I disagreed on linebacker. Jamie had Bong making his 53. I had Nick Neiman making my 53. How did you think those two fared today?
The only time I really remember seeing Nick Neiman was when he missed a tackle in the hole in the goal line. I think it was on the second touchdown of the game for the Saints. Bong showed up a couple other times. I think he had a nice play where he cut down a running back after a catch on third down for a stop. He chased down Mark Ingram running east-west along the on a third and short situation. He wound up giving up the first down, but he showed, I think, more speed than most people thought he had in chasing him down. To me, I think Bong is just the better defender. I think Amon is better coming downhill. He's more decisive. He's better with his reads. He isn't the coverage linebacker that Neiman is, but Neiman isn't exactly a star in coverage either. So if I was grading them, I would say Bong stood out last week. I thought he had a good week this week. And I really didn't see anything from Neiman that made me feel like he has to be kept on this team in spite of his status as a recent draft pick and a core special teamer. It seems like those guys are pretty interchangeable on special teams.
I would probably agree with you. I think Neiman being top 10 in tackles last year on special teams probably won some favor with this coaching staff. Neiman did have a really good tackle on a throw over the middle on Alvin Kamara. It was a real quick catch and then tackled him right after he caught it. But other than that, I agree with you. I think Bong had a lot more. Not only did he have more tackles than Neiman, but I thought he had more splash plays, if you will, than Nick Neiman. Nobody really, in my mind, distanced themselves way ahead of either. Maybe some other guys may have, but in this group, I think they were all pretty close. I think Amon had like one more tackle than Neiman, and but I will say I think Amon flashed a little bit more and probably made a little bit more of a case. And now your real question is, do you value that coverage linebacker with the special teams value, or do you go with the overall, I would say, better linebacker in Amon, who might be able to still give you some special teams value too? So really, you're kind of just weighing your options there. Maybe they keep both. This is a tight race. 6 linebackers is a lot, though. Before we got on, we're talking about 6 linebackers, and that's just a lot for just the special teams guys at the bottom there.
Yeah, this linebacker core in general, outside of really Tranquil and Kyle Van Noy, is really built with special teams in mind. And I think, Reeder was signed to be a core special teamer. Amon progressed towards being one of those core special teamers towards the end of last year. Neiman played special teams all year last year and did a pretty good job. I think if you're looking for somebody, if you're trying to decide who to keep, I would go with the guy who's better on defense. And it seemed like the Chargers trusted Amon on defense more than they did Neiman last year. And I think we saw more of him on defense in the preseason this year. I just really don't remember Neiman standing out at all in the preseason this year. So with that in mind, I would keep Amon. And I think they probably will too. He was that great, UDFA story last year. Coaches love those guys that work their tails off and earn those spots. He seems to be progressing in terms of his reads and things like that. So all things being equal, and I think they are fairly equal, I would go with the guy who fills the need that they had last year in terms of run stopping, and I think that's Amon. And I think he can be productive on special teams. to the point that you really don't need to keep Neiman if you feel like Amon's better on defense.
Yeah. We got a comment here, and I tend to agree with you. I think that Ahmed may have squeaked out his last roster spot today by just outplaying Nick Neiman. MK Adams, we're not going to talk about offensive linemen so much because there wasn't really any toss-up there, but MK Adams 99, I think the Chargers are going to regret not re-signing Scott Quessenberry. Will Clapp has been playing like crap, and he is right.
And he missed the opportunity to go with the pun and the CRAPP, but we'll let that go for now.
Yeah. You really, you even capitalized the C. I mean, you were so close. You had the rhyme scheme, just missed that pun with the 2 P's.
Yep, so close, but
yeah. It's still
We'll get it next
preseason.
time.
Still preseason for the comments too. Once we hit regular season, you got to hit those hard come week 1.
Hang in there, you'll get it next time. No worries.
Yeah.
I think I always liked Quessenberry. I thought he was a guy who fared well when they put him in at center and at guard, but there was a disconnect between this coaching staff and really the last coaching staff in terms of how they viewed him, because even when they were desperate, he couldn't get on the field. So would I have preferred to see them keep Quessenberry? Yeah. But I think he's starting. I think he's the starting center for the
Texans.
The Texans right now. So he went and got a better job, and they never played the guy. So it's hard to say they'll miss him. But you are not wrong. Will Clapp has been crap all preseason. He's been awful. He seems like he's getting whipped at least once a possession. And it seemed like there was some arguing between him and some of the guards today. So not a good look, but we're stuck with him, and I don't think the team will miss Quessenberry. I think if they thought they'd miss him, they would have tried to bring him back.
Yeah. He reunited with his brother, so he's over there in Houston, and looks like he got the raise, so to speak, on the cusp of being a starter now. And really, I think at this point, it would behoove the Chargers not to find an upgrade on the waiver wire, because there's going to be some kind of center veteran that's going to be available that you can find that will play better than Will Clapp has. So I say they go for a center when that happens, but we'll see. I mean, this was a guy that followed Lombardi over from the Saints. I don't know if Lombardi kind of has some pull in the room and want to keep his guy, but we'll see how that is come cuts. But so there's a comment about running backs, which we'll get to in a second, but let's just talk about the running backs in general, because we had kind of bashed Joshua Kelly and Larry. Well, bashed is maybe a little strong, but Joshua Kelly.
We bashed him.
Yeah. Okay. Throughout this preseason, we have for sure, and I think deservingly so, because none really pulled away. I think in camp, Joshua Kelly was nice. In the games, he was not. But today, if you will, we owe him an apology. Maybe I don't know. He was electric today. He was, in my mind, the best player. Showed up the best on both sides of the ball for the Chargers. Electric run on 3rd and long, then picked up 8 right after. Had another great run that was negated by a Trevon Bradford penalty, but he looked really, really good today. And he was kind of the highlight and kind of cemented that RB3 role today.
Yeah, he also had a big blitz pickup. I forget who was in the game. I think it might have been Stick, but I think he picked up a blitz for a big play on 3rd down as well. So, yeah, Kelly was a guy who I think we were not wrong in criticizing him heading into the preseason, heading into camp, because he was not very good the last 2 years. He's had some key fumbles. He's missed some key blocks. He's looked lost at times, but he looks like a different player. He looks really good. He looks explosive. He's decisive. He's able to get to the edge, which he wasn't able to do in previous years. He's looked pretty good catching the ball. He's looked better blocking. He's getting key snaps on special teams. And I think he has earned his spot on the team. And I think, especially while Spiller is out, it makes sense for him to be RB2. And I think we'll see him get most of the RB2 touches early in the season while they work Spiller back in. And, he's earned the opportunity, and we'll see what he does with it during the regular season. But Kelly looked really good. He looked very explosive. That hurdle on 3rd and long to get the first down was huge.
Yeah.
He just looks like the vision is better. It looks like he's seeing the holes. He still isn't really going to make a whole lot of people miss outside of that hurdle, but looks like he has a chance to be productive in that RB2 role, and he's had those opportunities. He's taking advantage of them, and he's stepping up, so he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, and There is a correction here in the chat. Magic Mike is right. I said that Scott Quessenberry was going to reunite with his brother at the Texans. David Quessenberry is now on the Bills. So thank you for the correction there, Magic Mike. That is true. Not with his brother, but still with the Texans and doing quite well. So Joshua Kelly, one of the highlights today, Larry Roundtree, and you're talking about guys that won't make people miss. Larry Roundtree scored the touchdown, had a nice little catch and run early in that game, and continuing to run into contact even in the open field now. Just a guy that's looking to hit somebody and not really knocking anybody over, but twice today he was in the open field and ran straight into contact rather than running around it. And one time was on a third and short, right near the sticks. Instead of getting vertical and going upfield, he ran right in the defender, got tackled short. He was fine today. He had the touchdown. I think Kelly way outperformed him, but not a bad performance from Roundtree either, but a guy who's running into contact.
Yeah, I don't think Roundtree's anything special. I don't think he's going to light the world up if he touches the football in a regular season game. I don't think he'll see many touches during the regular season as long as Spiller and Kelly are both healthy. But he was fine. He put his shoulders, ran behind his shoulder pads, put his helmet down, got across the goal line on a third and goal, and after trying to jump over the pile on second down, which I didn't really understand. Not really his thing. He's fine. I mean, if you're talking about RB4, which is what you're talking about, he did enough to distance himself between the other two guys he was competing with. Is he worthy of keeping on the roster? I would say probably not. I don't know that you really need to carry 4 running backs, especially if you're carrying a guy like Xander Horvath who can run the football as well and be kind of a short yardage guy. I think it's overkill, but if you're looking for a reason to point at and say, yeah, he earned his spot tonight, I would say scoring the touchdown and having a couple solid runs, decent runs, was probably enough to distance himself between Letty Brown and Kevin Marks Jr., neither of whom did much of anything with their touches today.
No, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were in the negative. It was either Letty Brown or Kevin Marks who ran outside and got tackled behind the line of scrimmage.
That was Marks. Yeah.
So Thomas Z, has your mind changed here? Thomas Z, how many running backs do you think the team goes with? Is it still 4 for you?
I mean, Telesco said they were going to do 4 last week, so I don't see any reason why that's changed. And now that they saw Roundtree get into the end zone tonight and have a couple productive runs, I think that just kind of solidified their look that all 4 guys are worth carrying, being Eckler, Spiller, Kelly, and Roundtree. And I just think he solidified his spot. I don't think there's any chance they're gonna go with 3.
Yes, and your dog agrees. Luke agrees. 4 running backs. So all right, let's go on to another group that we had kind of talked about, some bubble guys, and it was the interior defensive linemen, Brendan Fehoko and Joe Gaziano. How do you think they did today? Did anybody kind of distance themselves in your mind?
I was kind of hoping one of those guys would stand out on a consistent basis tonight, and I'm not really sure that I would say they did. Fehoko, if I recall, had 2 tackles for loss, or at least was involved in a couple of run stops.
1, but yeah.
I thought it was 2. I thought he had two tackles for loss. But either way, he was on the field quite a bit and didn't do a whole lot with his opportunities. Gaziano was on the field quite a bit too. Didn't think he really established himself as a run stopper. He flashed a couple times in pass rush, didn't get to the quarterback, did force the quarterback to step up and flee the pocket a couple times, I think, on the first possession. I'm not sure that either one of those guys really stood out enough to say, yeah, he deserves a roster spot. And Fehoko was hurt at the end of the game. So didn't really see what I was hoping to see. Outside of them carrying 6 defensive tackles, I'm not really sure either one of those guys is in a position to say they've earned a roster spot based on stellar play in the preseason. Now, both those guys were really good in camp. They both played a lot with the ones in camp and practice and played really well, both effective against the run. Gaziano tipped a lot of passes. and flashed as a pass rusher last week and a little bit this week. So I guess if you're looking at the whole body of work, maybe one of them stood out. Gaziano was maybe a little bit better, but it's hard to say because neither one of them was great tonight.
No, and it was one tackle for a loss for Fehoko. But I think between Fehoko, Covington, Andrew Brown, and Joe Gaziano, they just got their asses mauled for the first 2 drives against starters. All 4 of them across the board did not look like they were starting caliber defensive linemen that should be on a football field on those first 2 drives. They got pushed back. They got every yard they possibly wanted on the ground. New Orleans did, and there was just no push to the pocket, no real pressure on the quarterback. There was one QB hit on Winston, but that was when he was like kind of scraping the line of scrimmage to get the ball out. So, I just think that with that showing from the first 2 drives, there could be now a conversation about, well, look at how they performed. Maybe neither of them deserve it, and maybe Tillery sneaks in here, even with as bad as he's played. I just think I thought Fehoko had that great run stop like you were talking about. He had a really good tackle in the run game in third quarter. Gaziano had more tackles, but Fehoko, I think, made a little bit more of an impact today. And, like Jamie was talking about, he went down in the fourth quarter, was kind of smiling on the sideline afterwards. So that's probably some good news and kind of standing by himself. So hopefully he's okay. But I mean, now the conversation, Jamie, is did those guys not do enough to leapfrog Jerry Tillery, former first-round pick, and say Tillery now gets in and those 2 get cut?
Yeah, I think the fact that Tillery didn't play tonight, didn't even suit up tonight, kind of tells you what the coaches are thinking. Yep. I think one of those 2, in Gaziano and Fehoko, would have really had to have like a monster game today to change anything. It seems like the coaches or the front office or somebody has made up their mind that Tillery's going to make that 53 almost no matter what, even though he was outplayed by both those guys in the preseason. And I really would have thought they'd be looking at, adding a guy like a Fehoko or a Gaziano, just because both those guys had so much energy off the bench, and they were such a huge part of, helping to fill in when guys were hurt and sick last year. Particularly in that Steelers game when both those guys played so well. You would have thought that they'd be more in consideration, but it doesn't seem like they are based on the fact that Tillery didn't suit up along with Rumpf, which kind of suggests that both those guys have made the team.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I think if we were redoing our 53s, I would say Jerry Tillery takes that last defensive line spot and Fehoko and Gaziano get cut. Because
that's what it looks like right now.
Not having him suit up is like we're saving him, and we've seen enough from him, which is true.
Or it's
but the other way.
Seen enough.
Exactly. That's exactly it. We've seen way too much. Enough of this shit. Let's find somebody else. So I think Jerry Tillery is probably a pretty good bet to make that 53 with Fehoko and Covington and Brown and even Gaziano hitting the cutting room floor, and maybe being able to sneak one of those guys on the practice squad or 2 if you can.
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, Fehoko's been here for 3 years. So you'd think he'd be able to catch on somewhere else if he gets cut. Mm-hmm. Gaziano maybe a little bit more likely to make the practice squad if he gets cut. Brown and Covington, you'd think being a veteran, Covington would be able to catch on somewhere if he doesn't make the team.
Yeah,
I doubt he'd be too quick to wind up on the practice squad.
No, I was more referring to Fehoko and Gaziano, but yeah. All right, so looks like Jerry Tillery's going to make it. Okay, let's talk about corner. We were kind of talking about this last corner spot, and it all kind of just played out today. Dean Leonard didn't play. Kamon Hall got hurt, and Jasir Taylor, in my mind, was the best corner out there today for the Chargers. So. And even there was a quote about Staley who said that Jasir Taylor looks like he belongs every time he hits the football field. So Jasir Taylor's in. I don't think nothing's changed today. And since both those guys couldn't really suit up and play all that long, I think it's pretty easy to guess this one that Jasir Taylor's going to make this team. For sure.
Yeah, I think it was a done deal before the game, and I think the only reason Taylor was playing was because he needed bodies. And I'm sure they wanted to get him some snaps too, but he wound up having to play the whole game because Leonard was hurt, because J.C. Jackson was hurt and wasn't going to play anyway.
Kamal Hall went down.
Kamal Hall went down, and he was playing pretty well when he got down.
Yeah.
He had a couple nice tackles, a couple PBUs. He looked pretty good. So yeah, I think Taylor's in. I think he was already in before the game started. I don't think he did anything to change that. And I don't think anybody behind him did anything to change that. I think that was one of the easiest locks in terms of position battles, like roster spot battles heading into this last game. I think that's been a done deal for maybe a week or two.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was more of a competition in that first week of camp when Dean Leonard came out blazing hot. And then after that, J.C. Taylor took a hold and then never looked back. And yeah, he's definitely in. And everybody's got nothing but great things to say about him with his coaching staff. So, you know, they love him too. All right, so let's talk about wide receiver. I had them keeping Michael Bandy. We saw today, well, at least they talked about it on the broadcast, that Michael Bandy has the most catches of any receiver in the preseason. He made another tough catch in coverage. I can't remember if it was Stick or Daniel who tried to get him murdered today.
It was Stick.
Stick, yep. Stick threw a hospital ball behind him, and he almost got his head taken off. And Telesco was praising Bandy today and said they saw him with Julian Edelman type traits. Does that mean, do you think that Michael Bandy now makes the team with everything that's happened so far and this game and what Telesco had said? Is he making this team now? Do you change your mind?
Sounds like it. It sounds like it. I don't know how they do it. I still don't know how they do it. They're committed to keeping 3 quarterbacks. They're committed to keeping 4 running backs. They're probably going to have to keep 4 tight ends now.
That's what I was going to say. I think the only way it would happen is if they kept 3 edges and they kept 3 tight ends, and they just rolled with the 3 tight ends and added Bandy as a 6 wide receiver.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, can you really roll with 3 tight ends with Parham being hurt right now? It limits you on special teams. They rarely play more than 3 wide receivers on the field. So do you really need 6 on the roster? There's a lot of things that go into that. I think Bandy's earned a spot. I think he should be on the team, if not as a permanent member of the roster, at least for the first couple weeks or week or few days or whatever it is while they're figuring out the practice squad and everything, just to keep him from getting picked up by somebody else.
Yeah.
But I don't know how he fits. And I don't know that it's worth it to keep 6 receivers if you might need a 4th edge or an extra linebacker or an extra defensive tackle. There's just a lot to consider. And I think it's really hard to keep 6 receivers. I don't know that they need it. It might be overkill, at least permanently. Maybe short term.
Yeah, which is what I think. Yeah, I think it's short term. But I think you just have to make it work with a guy like Michael Bandy. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of your value in a roster and what are you going to have Michael Bandy do other than just like he's ours and nobody else can have him, you know, other than just one of those moves, which is kind of what they're doing right now because they're not going to play him. I mean, if they did, I don't know why you wouldn't put DeAndre Carter in that type of role if you needed kind of a speed guy. But, I mean, if he got a few snaps a game, that wouldn't hurt me at all. I think Jalen Guyton, speaking of wide receivers, Jalen Guyton played pretty good today. A really nice hesitation move and some separation from Jalen Guyton on a sideline catch, which was like one of the handful of highlights today from this game. So we knew Jalen Guyton was going to make it anyway, but nice of him to show up today. And yeah, I mean, I just don't know. I don't know how you get rid of a guy like Michael Bandy. I think you keep him for a little bit, try to cut him in the 2nd and 3rd wave of cuts, hope to sneak him on the practice squad, but he's just too good to cut right now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if they're planning a bigger role in the offense for Michael Carter, maybe they think of Bandy as
DeAndre Carter.
Maybe they think of Michael Bandy as a kick returner or a punt returner to take some of those duties off of Carter and expand his role in the offense. That would make some sense. But like I said, they don't use a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. They really don't use any 4 wide receiver sets. So I don't know how he would ever get on the field. So unless it's just like hey kid, good job, you had a great camp, you're going to be here for a couple days while we sort out the practice squad. I don't know how. I don't know how they can keep him.
They seem to do that pretty often, though. They reward one guy, and that was Forrest Merrill last year. I'm trying to remember. I thought there was one UDFA like a Forrest Merrill where they kept him on the 53. They ended up,
it was Merrill. He was gone after like a day, I think.
Yeah. I think it's one of those situations, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know how you cut the receiver who's looked as electric as Bandy has, with all these other guys just kind of going by the wayside a little bit. All right, and Espo's got it. I mean, when you have 3 quarterbacks, 4 tight ends, and 4 running backs, it puts you in a bad pinch, and that's exactly it.
Yeah,
this could easily be solved without one of those,
or all of them.
All of them, yeah. Without a third quarterback, without a 4th tight end, and without a 4th running back. That's exactly right. That gives you 3 extra spots, Jamie.
It does.
If my math serves me right.
Did you count that on your fingers?
I did it all, but I showed my work and everything. I wrote it down on this paper. All right. So, let's talk about. So you talked about tight end. So we saw Kroenke have a catch today. Hunter Campmoyer had a really nice catch and run on a 3rd down. And I went, okay, well, that cemented him as tight end 4 because he's done next to nothing. And then he comes out and he fumbles. I mean, what do you do with that? They got to carry 4 anyway, but
they have to carry 4. Kroenke's been playing a lot of special teams. He's not going to be on the field very much with the offense as the 4th tight end. So I don't know how much that fumble hurts him. Campmoyer. Yeah, Campmoyer. He's not going to be on the field very much as a 4th tight end. So I don't really think it matters in terms of the fumble. Excuse me.
Yeah. I agree with you.
I think Campmoyer is still in. He may not hang for that long, depending on how long Parham is hurt. But for a short-term fix to help the special teams, which he seems like he's kind of moving towards being a core special teamer, I think he's in.
Yeah.
He did a thing. He's in.
Yeah. He did a thing. Ignore that other thing, but he did a thing before that. It was a nice little catch and run on 3rd down. It was nice.
He actually looked more athletic than I thought he was.
Oh, man. He sure did. He did. He absolutely did, because in camp, he looked like he had stone boots on. But on that play, he got it and turned up field. Nice little catch and run.
We just won't talk about the other thing.
Yeah. No. We won't mention that. All right. So we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I think fullback was pretty much a foregone conclusion. We saw a lot more of Gabe Neighbors today than we've seen in the past. They both had 1 catch for 8 yards. But even on the broadcast, he said that Horvath was the fullback leader in the locker room. So that's all pretty much done. Being friends with Justin Herbert got Gabe Neighbors on this team for a little while, but with the size and how he's shown up in camp, being able to now kind of transition him into a fullback role now, hopefully get him some goal line work, and then also a recent draft pick. That's all but done. Horvath cemented as that fullback.
Yeah, they were actually experimenting with Neighbors at tight end this week to see if they could find a reason to keep him.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think Horvath earned that last spot. It sounds like he earned it early on in camp and just never really relinquished it. And he gives them, I think, more options as a receiver, as a ball carrier, as a blocker, and they think he's going to be a core special teamer. So that seems like it's a done deal.
Yeah. I think we covered most of them. I do want to say both Kellen Clemens and Easton Stick played absolutely uninspired today. I don't know if that's because they've already been told that they were going to make the roster anyway, but there was no fire in anybody today. I hated the quarterback play, and it wasn't just because they were going, against with their 2nd and 3rd offensive line. I just thought nobody was really fighting for a spot, so nobody had that fire to try to make any plays. It just kind of all fell by the wayside. There were some penalties and all that stuff, but through 2 quarters of both those guys, I don't know how you make a case if you're just looking at their preseason kind of film as a whole over these 3 games that they're both worthy of keeping together. I absolutely hated the quarterback play today, and it just sucks that they played so uninspired.
See, I'm not sure I agree with your assessment on the
Really?
quarterback play today. I didn't think
Oh,
Stick was any good at all. I thought I thought Daniel was pretty
did I
sharp. He
say
made a.
Kellen Clemens again?
I think you did.
Jesus, they're
I
the
think you
same
did.
person. It
They're the
doesn't
same
matter.
person. um,
Uh,
I
this is
I
exactly
thought
right. Kellen Clemens, Chase Daniel, tomato. Go
yes,
ahead.
they're the
I'm
same.
sorry.
They're the same person. Career backup.
Whoops.
I didn't think Stick was very good. I thought he was erratic. Made a couple questionable reads. Almost got Bandy killed. Did not look very good at all. I thought Daniel was actually pretty sharp, considering it's Chase Daniel we're talking about.
Mm,
He made a great throw to Guyton on that
mm-hmm,
long pass. He made
mm-hmm.
a couple other good throws on third down. He had one play where he tried to outrun a pass rusher and got tackled for a sack on the first game or on the first possession. But overall, I think he was like 10 out of 11 or 10 out of 12 passing, had over 100 yards, made some good throws. I thought if you're looking for somebody to separate himself for quarterback two, in my opinion, I thought the last 2 weeks Daniel separated himself after Stick looked like he was starting to pull away after week one of the preseason. So, look, I'm not sitting here saying that Chase Daniel is a stud backup quarterback or that I love the fact that he's on the roster. But if you're looking for one to separate himself from the other, I thought Daniel did that. I thought, considering he is a backup and he was playing against starters, I thought he played pretty well and made some nice throws.
He was 10 of 11. You were right.
Yeah, and
And
I
go
think
ahead.
the one incompletion was he just barely missed threading the needle on a deep ball to Moore, where Moore had to lay out in
Mm,
double coverage and almost caught it. It was a really nice throw. So
mm,
I thought he was pretty sharp. I thought he made a bunch of great throws and some nice reads. Played pretty well.
okay. Yeah, we disagree there. I understand, but I understand what you're saying. Going 10 for 11 is nice on the stat sheet, but um, yeah. What about Kellen Clemens? What's your feelings on him?
He's retired. Thank
um, Antonio is talking about Storm Norton, who just was awful today at left tackle, had a holding penalty. He was so bad. And Foster Sorrell, get out of here. I've seen enough of his ass. He
Yeah.
was so bad today.
I mean, so you're telling me the guy who can't play right tackle wasn't good at left tackle? I am stunned.
No.
I never would have thought that'd be the case.
Oh, man.
At
Okay.
least he didn't win the starting right tackle job, though.
That's true. That's true. Pipkins is the starting right tackle, and good for him. Is there anything else we're missing? Any bottom depth chart guys we need to talk about, or anything
I
else?
think the only other thing that we can talk about is edge. Are they going to keep 3 or 4? And if they keep 4, who would it be?
I mean, they were all but silent today in my mind. Did any edge players stick out to you?
I thought if you had to pick one guy who had a decent game, I thought Kemp played pretty well again.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was at least involved in a couple of run stops, got a little bit of pressure on a couple of plays. He flashed a couple times. Didn't really see much from Jamal Davis. Egg Boulay had a bunch of like almost plays. He was basically doing his Melvin Ingram impersonation.
Yep.
But if you were going to pick one guy, I think Kemp stood out among that group of guys on the bubble for the 4th edge spot.
I mean, I just don't remember seeing Jamal Davis much at all.
He was out there.
But oh man, he had one tackle today. He was last on the team in tackles. He had as much tackles as the guy they signed earlier this week, that Jaquette corner. One. Yeah. Carlos Kemp, 4 tackles, 1 QB hit. Yeah, I remember the QB hit from Carlo Kemp, but yeah, I think Carlo Kemp separated himself, but I think Jamal Davis's body of work was better throughout camp and throughout the preseason, but I still have a feeling they're going to keep 3 edges, and I just don't think Kemp or Davis did enough to solidify that 4th spot for me. So I would still stick with three edge guys.
You know,
Would you move to 3, or are you sticking with that 4?
I have a feeling they're going to keep Kemp. I have a feeling.
Okay. Okay.
I think he played really well the last 2 weeks. Didn't really show up so much in the first preseason game. I thought he flashed in the scrimmage that we went to. I thought he played well last week. He played well this week. And the thing that I noticed, and I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but when they were interviewing Joey Bosa on the sideline, they asked him about the edge group, and he named Kemp he called Kemp out specifically. and said he came in late, but he's worked hard to learn everything and he's doing really well. So I thought that was interesting. He didn't name Rumpf, he named Kemp.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling they might wind up keeping him. If not permanently, maybe he'll be a short-term keep to stash on the practice squad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Kemp's a lock for the practice squad, a guy they should definitely keep. He's earned his spot on the practice squad. And same with Davis, really, if either of them can get over there. But yeah, I'm still sticking with edge. So you're going to swap your fourth edge with Carlo Kemp?
Yeah, I had Davis making it, but I think Kemp did enough that if they're going to keep a fourth, I think it'd be Kemp.
Okay. So I'm going to keep Bandy on mine and go 3 edges. Interior defensive lineman, I'm going to take Gaziano out and put in Tillery. Are you keeping Fehoko there? Are you putting Tillery, Gaziano? On the spot here.
Tillery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
it's
not going to like it,
but you're putting me on the spot. It's because it's breaking my heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got to keep Tillery.
Yeah. Well, we don't have, we collectively, me and you, don't have to do anything. We wouldn't do that. But the Chargers.
But if we're making a prediction.
Yes. But if we're making a prediction, we're both saying Tillery's in, my Gaziano's out, your Fehoko's out, and then linebacker, we differed. Are you staying with Amon?
I'm staying with Amon. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I would pick Amon. But we'll Telesco. I'm going to say, oh, man. This is a tough one.
I think you could make an argument for either one, and neither one of them really did a lot to stand out. But
I'm gonna stay strong with Nick Niemann. I don't know why I'm planting this flag, but I'll stick with it.
You heard it here first. Nick Niemann, Garrett's guy, Garrett's boy.
Oh no!
You did it.
No!
Nick Niemann is Garrett's boy.
Damn it! No, not this again. Hey, your boy missed a tackle. My mentions flooded all Sundays. All right. Was there anybody else we differed on? I think that was it.
I think
we differed on. Yeah, we differed on edge.
What we haven't seen, Webb play at all. Mark Webb play at all in the preseason. He missed the last 2 weeks of camp.
Yeah.
Do you think that he is somebody that they absolutely have to keep to protect from somebody else picking him up based on the fact that he hardly has any film the last 2 years?
With the way in which they've talked about Webb, I would think that they would have to. But I would say he's probably going to be the pup guy. They're going to put him on pup, and he's not going to play for a couple weeks. But if he's healthy and you're saying cut him and sneak him on the practice squad, I would say he hasn't put a lot of tape on, but they've raved about this guy for 2 years now. So I would say somebody would probably have caught wind of that. So I would say they'd have to keep him. You?
I don't know. I just feel like if it came down to really needing a roster spot, I can't imagine people being in a rush to pick him up no matter how much they raved about him. He hasn't been on the field and there's no film. So even though they're talking about him, nobody's seen it. You can't verify it. So is he really a guy that you have to pick up? I mean, they're going to keep him, but I just think it's interesting that they're so committed to keeping this guy and he just can't stay on the field.
Okay. So would you cut him?
I would consider it if I really needed a spot.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. They're probably going to try to stash him on the pup, is my guess, if he's not ready to go.
All right. Michael Haynes, last question. We'll get out of here. Will the Chargers finally pick up a veteran tackle as a swing tackle after cuts? I say no. Jamie?
I don't think they will. I'm sure they'll look at it and see if there's anybody who they think is better than Norton, but they've been really complimentary of Norton. So they'll probably convince themselves that he can play right tackle and left tackle, and then he's a perfect swing. And he's still developing, and he's a better football player than he was last year, and yada, yada, yada.
And he was a former starting right tackle in the NFL.
Yes.
They'll say all that. Yep.
That's what they're telling themselves.
Yep. So the answer, Michael, I would say no. They're not going to. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys joining us late on what is it, Friday night. Thank you so much. As soon as the Chargers release 53, we'll do a reaction to it and break it down. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.